Good morning, everyone. It is Monday, the 28th of November, 2022, and maybe my classical music is up a little bit too much, but anyways, bear with me. This weekend it was a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie, and so full disclosure, last week I did end up relapsing with alcohol. It had been over 4 years, 4.5 years, and yeah, it was just like a lot of stuff all just like I guess came to a head, and I felt like I didn't have like any of the coping mechanisms or even skill sets that I'm usually able to have. Like I found myself in a position where like I didn't have access to any of that, and even when I was actually literally reaching out and asking various people for help, I was not getting it at all, and oftentimes the opposite, and making things worse. And so it's been like a lot, right? And so like even with the pandemic, knowing that this was staged and planned, and that there were tabletop training events that were happening even like within like the last decade, and everyone I knew in my circle of like that I built my career of 20 plus years with, they all completely abandoned me. Like contracts were canceled, they were cut. And then now, even now, like regularly I still try to reach out to people that I had all of these like relationships built, like work and friendships, and they all ended up dissolving, right? And throughout the pandemic as well, being forced to be locked down into my own province, even though I was fighting the mandates and the therapeutics being imposed on the entire population, and the narrative that was being projected, and again trying continuously to get work that I had, or that I was building towards, and again being fought by my own, and people like literally dismissing what I was saying. And because of media, legacy media, I was being vilified and painted as something that I was not, just based on what I was speaking out on. And then being called like again, like it was a lot, and it has been a lot, right? So when the majority of the population even now is still very much like they're not, they don't have the same kind of like input as me, or nor are they willing to listen or look. It's just been a lot, right? Because like when people don't have like even like a fire team partner, even like one person that they can have like in their corner, like when things get to be a lot, then it's really, it's like I've been through this like my entire life, right? And so like luckily I'm able to like get out of these situations. But yeah, it's been hard because people going like I like even like every single day about the therapeutics. I'm going on about that, but I was also getting people that were injured. I was getting reports on that stuff. I was looking at the research that was coming out in the original trials. It was not good. And then I had even my friends and family that were like rushing to get inoculated. And even inoculation, Q, means ass, and in other like ancient origin, like root words as well. And so ass, like sodomy, right? And so like this like being sodomized with therapeutics that have, they all have side effects, right? And this is why, yeah, it's just been a lot like that. It's like a lot of this stuff is in plain sight, and there's this universal language and coding that is being projected. And I'm trying to share this information with people, but like we're not even on the same page with like the theory of evolution, or the fact that this is a simulation, this is a simulated reality, that's heavily impacted by toroidal fields, and that it is a flat plane and with a dome or a firmament above, and that NASA, is making almost $400 billion a year. Actually, they're probably closer to the trillions now, in funds, and it's all misleading information, right? There's good work being done, sure, but there's a lot of lies and misinformation, and this is the stuff that's keeping us stuck and distracted, and keeping people in other areas thinking that we're just dumb, right? And so like this is not our fault, and this is why like I really try to remove emotion from when I try to share this information. But when I'm even giving like hard facts, like even people that I'm showing videos of them even admitting things, and people are still refusing to acknowledge it. Like I understand that comes from like ego, right? And or shame and embarrassment, and people would rather accept people dying, unfortunately, than even have like embarrassment. And even I've shared videos of Bill Clinton even admitting that like there was a lot of like research and experiments done on humans, like not informed consent or anything, that caused a lot of harm. And this is stuff that was hidden or covered up, like in all levels of government because of the embarrassment that it would lead to, right? And this is not a reason to kill people or continue to mislead people and deceive people. That is not a reason, right? And so like, so when I'm seeing like all this like hidden symbology and like the and like these signs that people in different groups are in leadership that they're doing, and celebrities and the scripted media, it's really frustrating that like I know what they're doing. I know how they're communicating. I know like certain dates, like why they matter. And I'm really wishing that at some point that we can all like just come to a table, all the heads of government here in Canada at the very least, including Global Affairs Canada, who I've worked with before, and they're great people, but it's just like I feel like they're afraid of the embarrassment of like of the name of the company itself, like global, and you shouldn't be, right? Like you did all the work. It's really hard to get into Global Affairs Canada, by the way, and I've worked with a lot of great people, and so like I do feel like if they would look past or beyond like their narrative or scripts that they're being pushed by people that are not for Canada, even though they're thinking they are for Canada, they're not. Then this would be like better for us, you know what I mean? And I think that matters because I've risked my life. I've been to war. Like I know a lot of people that have. Like I've buried people, and even now, right? Like even this weekend, I had a hard weekend, right? But I'm also trying to talk other people off the ledge, right? That are going through addiction problems and or that just they see this for what it is and what's coming next, and they don't want to be a part of it, right? Because they've tried like daily, to try to get to spread like the message of what was going on, even with like the Omicron variant being like not a thing, and that was just like a way to cover up like vaccine injuries and the fact that it was like less like potent or severe and more viral, etc. Like just like also like meant that this was something that was like that was phasing out like a lot of these do, and I really do encourage people to look at germ theory and just like how cells, when they're toxic, how they shed and how we need to pay attention to these things more because it's a reality, and SIDS and SADS are a reality, and there's more stuff coming, right? If they think that they can dupe us and mislead us on like even like the most basic things, because Wernher von Braun, he was part of like Nazi Germany. He was like one of the generals, and he was actually hired within like the U.S. to be like part of the like the main propaganda guys, and he worked with in and around like Stanley Kubrick, and like a lot of his films, like he proves that he like faked the moon landings, and like he's admitted it before too, and Buzz Aldrin has as well, and so many cosmonauts from Russia as well, and I've given that information to people, right? So like I have this on the record. I've given like the research papers. I've given like the government documents that are open source, and I've given this to even astronauts that I know that are friends, and I'm getting ghosted. They probably think I'm freaking crazy, but I'm like, you're crazy. Like here's like look at Alex Gleason, look at Eric Dubé, like look at people from like ancient times, like Socrates and Plato and things like that. And there was a lot of great content that they were spreading, and I wish that we would do a lot more of that within Canada too. But like look at Bill Carroll in the morning here in Ottawa. Like he had a doctor from Ottawa go on, and she didn't even last like 20 seconds before she had to get hung up on because she was unhinged, right? Like there's just such a strong like just like a dissociation from reality that it's alarming. And this like again is why I'm afraid of this stuff too, and why like I feel like overwhelmed, is because like this is exactly what happened in Europe in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, right? And it was people like this that was in charge or dictating like who would go into the concentration camps or not, right? Or like who would be like fully like vilified and removed from society and put into areas where there was the spread of disease and illness because of the conditions that they were in, right? And just like when soldiers are in war, right? Like we get more sick too because of the conditions that we were in, right? And for 15 years, like I was an infantry officer. I've done like so many training events, that were like weeks, if not months at a time throughout my whole career. Like I remember there was even like a 4-year period where I think I was actually in my home for maybe a month at the most, like total, and there's been plenty of periods of that too, where I was even and all over the world doing training and land, air, sea, and like jumping out of helicopters, rappelling, and going on ocean cruise liners, and being like the the trainee. Anyway, I won't get into all that stuff, but like all fun stuff. And so like I do want to teach things like hostile environment awareness training. Like I have packages built up. But it would be to like certain levels of government that would have to be on board with the fact that there's like some name changes that have to be done, and there's going to be a lot of like quote unquote like what people think to be pie on the face. But like what I was getting at with like global affairs, like I don't think that they're like they should be embarrassed for the name of the company, for example, because like the people that I like they sign their lives away, you know what I mean, as essentially like to be of service to Canada and beyond Canada. And I know that these are very good people and they absolutely are of service. And so, yeah, don't be embarrassed by this stuff. Like, just like, but it would be nice if they can acknowledge it and then fix it, and then like we can find ways to peacefully move beyond this. And I'm so sorry for the noise behind my house. This is Taggart and Mattamy. Like these are like the real estate companies, right, in Ottawa, in all of Ontario, and the destruction companies. They profited through the pandemic and exploited and manipulated, but exploited like the pandemic, right? Like the prices were through the roof because real estate agents, like they're the ones that dictate this, right? And Mattamy in Minto, these are like the biggest like real estate people like in, I think possibly Canada, but at the very least in Ontario. And so like they're the ones that dictate pricing, right? And so like even like a house is almost doubled through the pandemic, and then we were forced to be locked down in Ontario too. So when these destruction companies were going in, because like people were selling all like selling, Mattamy was selling, Minto was selling, they were selling at inflated pricing. And then there was a lot of destruction that has been done in this area that was not even in city plans to be done for a 5 and 10 year period, right? And so this is why I'm upset about this stuff, because when I bought this house, that heritage site was not supposed to be touched for at least, it was not in any city plans for 5 years, and that matters, right? That's very important. Like you know what I mean? Like you cannot. And there was no way of even trying to fight that. And then but even in around the area too, right? There was stuff that was done during the pandemic that like no one was paying attention to, that was not allowed. Like Shea Dog Trail. It's by a church. This is land that was open to the public to be an unleashed dog trail. And it is now, and it's still not in any city plans to be touched unless it's changed like only in like the last year. But even last year, it was a 10-year period upwards until like 2032. We were looking at, me and like several other people at the dog trail. And so like we're very upset, obviously, that there's like now like it's been completely taken over. There's like large cranes and vehicles and bulldozers that drive there, and it's not safe, and they're doing it fast. And there's dogs running around this area because it's an unleashed dog trail. And this is a community one that has been here for many years, so that's not anything new. And it's the only one in all of Stittsville and Canada, right? And like the closest one beyond that is like 40 minutes away, and that's if you're not in traffic, right? And so it's been taken over by Taggart and Mattamy and Minto. Again, these are real estate corporations, and then construction companies, and they're renting the equipment and the signage and the pylons and stuff like that to us. And at very inflated prices, and they're also destroying the roads, and I have all the videos of that as well. Like, so in the area, there's been a lot of potholes that they've created. They're like a lot of damage to vehicles. They've impeded safety vehicles, including freaking paramedics and city buses. I have that recorded. Even the supervisor impeding city buses, like in places that are not even supposed to be, and parking like in on our streets, like in suburban areas that are not that big. And I even share videos like we can hear these beeps all through our homes, and this has been 4 years at least that I've been experiencing this in an area that was like not in any city plans to be done with, like, and nothing to be done with, right? And so like, how is that possible? A heritage site. It's going to be a pizza shop, so like it's not going to be anything that's beneficial, like in the short or long term for us. And I show they're putting in prefab like lumber and concrete slabs in. And by the way, lumber, they also increased the price by 3 to 6 times during this whole thing too. So again, like there was only a handful of people that they're probably not even Canadian that profited from this pandemic, and Doug Ford included with his decal business. And it was none of us, right? Because like I was trying to fight the pandemic, the mandates and stuff like this, and I lost. I can honestly say millions of dollars, because the contracts that I had with Global Affairs and so many other companies, and what I was building towards, like I was going to be part of a much bigger company, and I was already starting to hire like a lot of people within the city. So this was a community thing in order to do like role playing scenarios and be facilitators and use like certain areas for different training scenarios and such as well, and all being taken away because of Taggart and Mattamy, and like, so again, like, not even people that government are allowing to do this stuff, like, on. And so even with the forestry department like approving that, was criminal in my opinion, on a heritage site. And like, they shredded these trees that were hundreds of years old. And there's like no, like, well, I have proof of it obviously, and like you can also look at the like images and photos from the area like pre-shred, but it also caused like a lot of wind damage in the area. So like these companies, again, like they're causing a lot of like health issues in cities, and I do believe that this is why like city areas, like a lot more people are more chronically inflamed, and like there's like sick issues, anxiety issues, all this stuff is because of how we're living, right? And so like that could be, for example, the trees could have stayed, there could have been gardens built. I would have helped with that as well. I know that my neighbors, like, they have like their own little gardens that they try to build like inside their house because they don't have any land to build gardens on. That's another thing by design, right? Like Taggart and Mattamy, these people build these cookie cutter houses with no lawn, no, and where we're no choice but to be reliant on Hydro One or like very specific companies in order to get our electricity, in order to get our internet, our cable TV, our like any of that stuff, and our heating, our cooling. We're reliant on government now because like they're not giving us any, they're not building anything where we can even like heat our homes with a wood stove anymore, for example, like very basic things. And yeah, and so like they were, yeah, so Taggart was billing us like 3 to 6 times for lumber while they were shredding thousands and thousands and thousands of trees, not just in this area but like all over Ontario, including dog trails, including areas that they're not even supposed to be on. And so and then people like me are having to like deal with it. I'm saying people like me because I'm the one that's saying the video, but like I'm speaking on behalf of like a lot of people in this area that I'd like that say this stuff to me all the time too, and that would willingly help with the gardens, help with it. They would like I would recommend that the heritage buildings, that they be like youth centers, community resource like areas for children in the area. There's a lot of young kids in the area. They've been locked down and forced like to like they're even afraid to be in parks now. But if they have an area where people can gather like they used to, in buildings like that where we used to gather and do like more like celebrations or gatherings, and it was like more healing in nature and more positive, and there was more like nature around, like the healing gardens of and like even in Egypt, like the hanging gardens, that like those are very famous. And there's been like accounts of like gardens like all over the world, like with like a lot of resources. And Garden of Eden, obviously another important garden. So we need to have more gardens, is what I'm saying, like in areas, and it needs to be like a community collective effort. And that's how people can like socialize in the area and get to know their neighbors, and kids can have like a safe place to go. And like I've done work like even at the War Museum. I've done like boot camps there for kids, and they loved it. I've done like a lot of like boot camp stuff for well, I mean, when they were more younger, I guess, but like for my nieces and nephews. And so like I like people in the area would volunteer, and there's a lot of people again with like young, they have like young kids who are going to get older too. But it would be like, that would be like a nice like more, I guess, beneficial like environment than a pizza shop, and like a lot of like like it's going to be madness, right? It's going to be a lot more vehicles in the area, like a lot more electrical outflow, and it got like, and again, this causes like more illness. And so it's just frustrating, and I'm trying to sell, and it's been now a month, and my offer is like very reasonable for the market. I put myself like under a lot, like $100,000 under what people were selling at in this area last year, because I don't want to exploit the market or any of that stuff. And I want it to be gradual too. Like I want there to be like a gradual, like a few years of like this decline in like the cost of the housing in this area, so that people aren't like too overwhelmingly impacted, right? And so like I would have stayed obviously if they didn't ruin it and continuously to have like their like certain individuals, right, like behind my home specifically, and causing a lot of noise and excess noise, just because like I speak out on this stuff, and I ask them politely, you know what I mean, if you can please stop, and they don't. Yeah, but I have videos of that as well. So I'm saying like not the typical work that people do, but the like douchebags being douchebags. because yeah, there's kids all in this area, and so like it's they're and animals that are impacting all of us. And it would be nice if that was more, again, like a community center, healing center with gardens and people growing food and flowers and rebuild the trees and all that other stuff. And I've been trying to push for this now for a year, like saying like that there's ways that you can make money, and saying like, why don't you ask people in the area if they would like give like taxes, even like make this a community like area, like if you want money so badly, you know what I mean, we'll try to find ways. Like I obviously, like I'm not rich, I can't afford to buy that land to do that, or I would. Clearly I'm trying to get the people to just, anyway, to listen, to reason about this stuff, because again, like they're all over the city doing this, and in places that they're not supposed to be, just because they're exploiting the market that they created. So like, just to be clear, they created the market that they exploited and manipulated. So like, again, like this is why I'm frustrated because I know people personally here too that had complex PTSD, and service dogs included, and they like they had to leave. They were forced to leave and didn't want to, and yeah, it's sad, and it's happened to like a lot of people in the area. And I'm trying to sell because of that as well, and I'm not able to. So I'm chronically inflamed. I'm chronically, quote unquote, stressed unless I'm able to manage it, because for me it also like impacts my animals and then people in the area. And so like for me, being more of service my whole life, like when I know that they're causing damage, and then they're harassing people needlessly, and then there's a lot of excess noise that's done needlessly as well, and that this is for something that's going to be causing a lot more harm for even like generations to come, then yeah, it is what it is. But I'm gonna I don't like, there's just so much on the go right now that's just even hard for me to focus. And I also had to drop out of Carleton University, by the way, in my 4th freaking year, because cognitive science degree, or science degree, because like I was going down another path because of just how like how they're teaching things. And like I'm not like again, like there's what they're calling science, they feel that they're calling black and white, right? Like things, and I'm just like, but you, okay, whatever. But like I'm like, so in science right now, people are believing the globe Earth model. They're believing in like the Big Bang theory. They're believing in like the theory of evolution, like that Darwin was promoting, and all of this stuff, right? And I'm saying no to all of this stuff, and like I'm discussing even like the gravity stuff, and about like how it's more along the lines of like a mass occupying a space, and if it's more dense than the space that it occupies, that it falls. If it's less dense, then it raises, right? And that this has to be some kind of a contained environment for this effect, where these like lighter elements and materials like float or lift, and then others fall, and then different materials that. But even liquids where there's metals that can't even like sink in them. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff that can debunk gravity. A lot of stuff that I've shared personally in all my videos. If you want to take a look at them, it's a lot. But again, if you're like, I'm making bold claims, but instead of people just shutting it out, saying like, oh, I don't believe it, like, why don't you look at the bold proof and the evidence and the data that I've compiled and shared with you, because of thousands of hours of research. And experimentation and travel and verification and outreach and getting others that are experts in certain fields to discuss and consider, and it's just and it just is what it is. And I know that there's a lot of there's a lot of like psychological deconditioning that's gonna need to happen, but even in the word, right, like psycho and then logical, there's like a fine line between being psycho and logical, and you want to have that balance, I guess, and so so what you think might be psychotic, I was what I'm trying to allude to, or people that you might think are psychotic, because you think that you're logical or overly logical. Like, why don't you consider what they have to say, and then before you again like dismiss it, because like you're missing like 50% of that piece. And I've done like a lot of like advanced psychology courses, like again, even like the cognitive science aspect of the brain, for studying it. Plus, as someone who was diagnosed with complex PTSD in 2008, like my life experiences, right, can I can speak on this stuff more than most. But yeah. Yeah, I would have stayed again and even offered to to volunteer in various capacities, but I don't know. That doesn't seem to be an option anymore. But it was when I was younger. We used to have like these youth centers and stuff like that, and we used to go and play pool or ping pong, or dance, or gather around and smoke cigarettes, and like there's bad stuff too, right? But like I'm hoping that again, like with the more informed people are about things, then they will just make better choices, right? Where am I going with this stuff? I'm like all over the place with my notes. Yeah. I think with the emergency hearings, it's over now. It was several weeks, and it's been a struggle this week too, because like I literally heard people like Marco Mendicino, Chrystia Freeland, and Justin Trudeau make a mockery of the court systems, and make a mockery of Canadians, and essentially all human citizens, right? And lied. And it's frustrating because they're like during these emergency hearings, I'm now seeing people put these video clips out saying like, "See, we were right," and justified because like they're taking like a 30-second snippet of Justin Trudeau saying a lie, and then not looking at the fact that it's a lie. And anyway, and I'm sharing videos too, like on my social media. So this is why I urge people to look at my Instagram if you're interested in this stuff, just to get more of a differing perspective, and just see where I'm coming from as well with what I'm seeing and hearing, and again from my peers, if anyone's looking at this data or this information, like I go through a lot of research, and like I've made blackboards. I've made whiteboards up, and I've proven and predicted events and things like that. And so like I'm really hoping that we could come to terms on a lot of stuff, and that there's room or there's a possibility or a chance for open dialogue, and then being hired like I used to be, because there's that also that piece missing during this pandemic where I'm very much of service, right? Like I volunteer at the Ottawa Mission. This semester I wasn't able to, like because of Taggart and Mattamy and Minto, and I'm saying them. It's because like I actually I wasn't able to I as a facilitator, like I have to study and teach things to people that are at the Ottawa Mission and Shepherds of Good Hope and things like that. And so just because of the timings that we do the sessions, it's weekly for 10-week periods. Like they were nonstop, and it was way too loud, so I wasn't able to have that background noise in it, right? It was just too distracting. And so like I can't be muted the entire time, because I'm actually like going over questions with people over university content and material, and I'm having people like discuss things as well, right? And so like and they do enjoy having me there, right? And so like that's why they have like oftentimes like really wanted me to go back, because I'll teach whatever course they need. I'll fill whatever spot they need me to fill, even if it's like an art course or whatever. And it's a good experience, and I'm reliable, and obviously, and like I bring a lot to the table that a lot of other people possibly couldn't or not available to. But that again, taken away my schooling, I couldn't do any participation this semester at all. So that's another reason why I had to drop out, because like during the days, like when you like participation, you have to speak. And stuff like that, and so like it was just too distracting. I couldn't have any Zoom sessions with people to do any one-on-one meetings or anything like that, because like even now like my internet is very much impacted by them, because of these large cranes and vehicles that they keep parked and keep beeping nonstop and increasing electrical outflow and all that other stuff. And this is again why even car alarms in the area are going off more. And people like Glenn Gower, he's getting paid money, and he's getting like all these accolades and like looking like a hero as he's literally destroying my city from the inside out. And I'm trying to give him emails, like even about like the therapeutics, like all the stuff that I gave to Public Health Ontario, all the stuff that I've given to like all the cabinet ministers and stuff like that. I've also given to Glenn Gower. I started there, and with Jim Watson, mayors of places, and gave them like from well reputed like sources, like all this information that I've shared multiple times, and refusing to look at this stuff, and then just continuing on with this narrative because it fit their agenda, it fit their greed and their pockets. And so the longer the pandemic was, like the more again there was profit at very specific areas and levels, and certainly not for people like me. And yeah, like, and I've thrown my resume out there to like freaking so many people as well, saying like, hey, like I'm literally I have top secret government clearance. This has been my work now for over 2 decades now, and with a lot of experience, with travel and stuff like that as well. And I want to be I want this place to be better than what it is, and the only way to do that is to like offer like ways to manage that piece. I don't know. I'm going on all these tangents, but I don't know if I have any other important things to say. I hope that everyone else is doing well, honestly. Like, I know that this has been a rough period for like a lot of people I know, and that has also been what has was why part of the relapse, right? Is when like I'm trying so hard on a daily basis to just manage my own chronic stress because of the stuff that's going on around me, and because of my past trauma and stuff like that too, right? That they're not part of, right? Like, Taggart's not responsible for like my service related trauma. They're just enabling it and exacerbating it regularly and chronically, and they're aware that there's been a lot of soldiers in the area that they forced out because of doing things to exploit and to exploit us for money. And they just don't care. It just makes them laugh. It makes them try to use like their friends to bully or harass people that try to speak out on this stuff. And I have proof of this as well. So again, bold claims require bold evidence. And yeah, so I think on that note, I hope everyone's doing well. And so this drinking, like, for me, like it's not the answer, right? And it's essentially poisoning me, but it also like disrupts my access to my pineal gland, which is why the relapse happened too, right? Like, if I'm able to just shut things off, like, it's just, that's the easy button, right? And then it's just like I don't care about anything, or you know what I mean? And so and then I'm just numb to the world. But then once I sober up, so to speak, once the poisons are removed from my body, my baseline for depression is actually now lower. So then I've actually just made it worse for me to get out of my rut instead of better. And so like the further or the longer I, like, not the further, but the more I drink, or the longer I drink, my baseline, like, I'm actually making myself more and more depressed, unfortunately. And so like literally anything else would be better for me than that. Like, that is like literally the worst thing for someone like me, especially with complex trauma and stuff like that, because of the impacts on the like the body as a whole, right? And so so now, because of this, like, I'm struggling with like managing my anxiety and my emotions and stuff like that, because I'm now going through, like, not a withdrawal period, because it wasn't like a long of a relapse, but I guess it could be kind of one. But it's also like I'm having to like now find ways to like try to increase my serotonin and dopamine receptors to like to even like baseline what it was to even before a freaking week ago. And that's really, really hard, right? Especially when you're already at like a lower like baseline. And so, and this is why like the resiliency piece and speaking out on this stuff, like, I find that accountability piece is good for me. And like, it's not it is what it is, and this is a multidimensional simulated environment, and I am just a character here playing a game, playing a certain role in this game. But yeah, some days though harder than others. But I did also I forced myself to go out for a 2-hour walk in nature yesterday with someone that I hadn't talked to in a while, and she like was going through like a really rough time, like, and so I actually had to put my stuff completely away because her situation was actually worse. And so like now there's that like, I'm glad I reached out, and yeah, it was just like, the timing was just interesting. And so and then there's like just other things as well, other people going through like a lot of rough like experiences, even like a family member having a vehicle accident. It was a complete rollover, not his fault. And then the person that like went into the person's lane, I think he slid. I don't think it was on purpose, obviously. It was a really bad weather day, and And yeah, so like this person, like he just like swerved just to get out of the way and rolled over and stuff like that. But I understand that people don't want to stay and help if like there's insurance, issues, especially especially young, people like, and that's 7 years of like with increased insurance, and so like that could be thousands and thousands of dollars, if you even claim that, right? And so oh, life. Anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling on, and on that note, that I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.